Remember how the Trump administration said that with the tariffs, they're going to get 90 deals in 90 days? Well, now they're sending out letters to countries saying, please come negotiate with us, please. Come on, man. What did we do?
Reuters was reporting that there is a letter that is meant to be sent to other countries, which would give these countries a deadline of Wednesday to produce their best offer on the trade matter. Why does the administration feel the need to send this letter? And I have one more follow-up on trade.
Sure. I can confirm the merits in the content of the letter. USTR sent this letter to all of our trading partners just to give them a friendly reminder that the deadline is coming up. And they are in talks. Ambassador Greer, Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick are in talks with many of our key trading partners around the globe. As you know, Brian, I know the Wall Street Journal has covered this quite heavily. And they continue to be engaged in those discussions. And this letter was simply to remind these countries that the deadline is approaching and the president expects good deals. And we are on track for that, I will emphasize.
Yeah, they really didn't have any strategy going into this. They just posted the tariffs and thought people would cave, and they didn't. And to show you how little they have of strategy, watch how the Secretary of Commerce responds to the strategy of reciprocity.
If Vietnam, for example, came to you tomorrow and said, okay, Mr. Secretary, you win. We're going to remove all tariffs and all trade barriers. Would the United States please do the same? Would you accept that deal?
Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not. That would be the silliest thing we could do.
Why is that?
Vietnam has a $125 billion exports to us and imports from us $12.5 million. And you're thinking, Vietnam exports $125 billion?
I'm aware of the figures, but tell me.
But where do they get it from? They buy $90 billion from China, then they mark it up and send it to us.
So you
They're just a pathway of China to us.
You wouldn't accept that deal?
No, it's a terrible deal. We're the one with money. We're the one with the store. Of course they want us to take
What's
down.
the purpose of reciprocity then? Is reciprocity not one of your goals? Are you telling the president that we shouldn't seek reciprocity? If that's what you're telling him, why are you trying to do these trade deals?
That was Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, who sounds like Foghorn Leghorn. I said, boy, now listen to me, boy. So you say you want to catch a chicken. You're going about it the wrong way now, boy. And he was grilling there the Secretary of Commerce, who just kept moving the goalpost on what their goals are. They really, really don't know what they're doing. But who's to blame?
The economy shrank. First time in 3 years. People are pointing to the tariff policy. There are people looking at their 401ks that are worried. What do you tell them? Is this going to work?
So the first thing is, when you talk about the economy, this is Joe Biden's economy, and we inherited $2 trillion of debt, the highest peacetime deficits in American history, a $1.2 trillion trade deficit, which fundamentally means we're not making enough of our own stuff. And the president came in and he said, this is not always going to be easy. It would have been very easy for Donald Trump to do what administrations past have done, which is borrow a lot of money and continue fueling the national debt. He said, no, we need a reset. We need American workers to have better jobs. We need to protect the jobs that they have right now. And we need to be more self-reliant as an economy, which, by the way, will drive down those skyrocketing levels of debt that we've seen.
There you have it. J.D. Vance with all the backbone of a jellyfish, taking responsibility for the current economy by saying it's Joe Biden's economy. That's right. The reason we're having these troubles is because of Joe Biden. It has nothing to do with the tariffs. Nothing to do with the tariffs. By the way, there was a video, you can go look at it, during the elections when Joe Biden was still president. The stock market went up and Donald Trump, I think, did a tweet or somehow took responsibility saying that the stock market went up because the stock market knew that Donald Trump was going to win the election, and therefore they were confident in the economy, and that's why it went up. Now, this time, when he imposed the tariffs and the stock market went down, Donald Trump famously said it wasn't his economy, it was Joe Biden's economy. So that's how far they're spinning this whole thing. Has nothing to do with what I did. It has something to do with the old guy, which it has nothing to do with, by the way. These guys are really they're grasping for straws. They really don't know what they're doing. You can go back to when the tariffs were first imposed. One of the people that was a big proponent of the tariffs is an advisor by the name of Peter Navarro. I'm sure you've heard of him. And he had written a book called Death by China. He's very aggressive against China. And in the book, he was quoting an economist named Ron Vera. Ron Vera was the economist that said that tariffs are going to be good for America in the Peter Navarro book. Turns out that economist did not exist. It was made up. Peter Navarro took his own name, did an anagram of Navarro, and came up with Ron Vera and started quoting himself in the book. And that's one of the guys that Donald Trump leaned on getting us into these tariffs. These tariffs are a horrible idea. And the question is, why did they do the tariffs? They did the tariffs because they want to be able to say, look, we're going to bring in money from the tariffs, and therefore we'll be able to pay for these tax cuts that we're going to get through with our big, beautiful bill that's going to be to the benefit of the wealthy. So that's one of the main reasons why they're doing the tariffs. It's also why they did all the Doge cuts. And everything we've seen now, a couple months in, it's only 4 or 5 months in, guys. We've seen that Doge did not cut as much as Elon Musk promised they would. He had said $2 trillion. They ended up cutting, several hundred billion maybe. They ended up firing programs and things that were needed. And they did not do it surgically. And the same thing goes for these tariffs. These tariffs could have been done in a surgical manner. They could have gone to different countries and said, hey, this is our issue with you. Let's talk, let's negotiate. But he did this across the board tariff, and it tanked the economy. Everyone remembers. Now, the stock market has started to make a little bit of a comeback. However, a lot of businesses are still unsure of what's going to happen. He keeps imposing tariffs, pulling tariffs back. We saw famously that Donald Trump was labeled taco. Trump always caves out, taco. Trump always caves, fill in the blank, put it down here, I forget what it is, but I'll remember it. But the point is that has no strategy, and they are tanking the economy, and they will not take responsibility. We saw that he did it with China, where he did 100 and something percent tariffs, brought it down. We saw where he did it with Europe. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and do these big tariffs. Oh, I'll give you till July. And things like Vietnam, we saw that questioning right there with Vietnam. The reason we have a trade deficit with places like Vietnam is not a rich country to buy from us as much as we buy from them. That's a big part of it, is that we are the wealthier country, so we end up buying more. Now, you saw Secretary of Commerce Lutnick saying that we want to bring manufacturing back to this country. We've seen this is not a real feasible thing, at least not in the short term. And then Trump and his allies keep saying you got to tighten your belt a little bit. It's going to be hard for a little bit. It's easy to say when you're a billionaire who's grifting and getting more and more money from the Saudis or wherever they're getting money from. And meanwhile, people who had 401ks, people who had savings have seen those savings drop. Also, when it comes to the tariffs, even if the tariffs raise money to help offset some of the taxes, we end up paying for those tariffs. These countries are just going to take their products, send it to us, and increase the prices. We've seen it already. Auto prices are going to go up. Groceries are going to go up. All of that is going to go up, and we end up paying for it. So who loses out? The people on the lower part of the economic spectrum. Because to them, a $5 raise in prices is a bigger percentage of their net income versus a $5 raise for somebody who's a billionaire who's grifting off of other countries. So we see more and more every day. They have really no idea what they're doing. You saw they sent out that letter. They sent out that letter telling the other countries, please come negotiate. Please, we're looking bad here. We told everybody we're going to have 90 and 90. We don't have any. We have one kind of with England, kind of, but nothing's really come through yet. So he really mismanaged it. And we should expect that. We should expect that because, he's Donald Trump. He's the guy who bankrupted a casino. You know how much talent it takes to bankrupt a casino? Like, you really got to be bad at business. You really got to be bad at business. He took his daddy's money and he lost it, and then he bankrupted the casinos, and then he wasn't doing well for a while, and then Mark Burnett came along and put him on The Apprentice, and that brought him back in to the limelight with books like The Art of the Deal, which basically say that he knows what he's doing when he really does not know what he's doing. He's not a good business person. And the people around him are trying to defend him. This guy Lutnick, the other guy, Scott Bessent, who's the Secretary of, I believe, Treasury, they're They're just defending him, going, "Oh yeah, he's a genius. This is how he's This is a negotiation tactic." By the way, if it's really a negotiation tactic, and they're saying that tariffs are going to bring in money to offset the tax cuts, well, if it's a negotiation tactic, then ultimately what's going to happen is these tariffs that you've imposed are going to go down, and you'll ultimately not be making as much money as you claimed you're going to make, so it's not going to offset the taxes. It's all one big charade, folks. We're being taken to the cleaners by the grifter in chief because he wants to grift for his friends. We saw famously when the tariffs were imposed, and he had Charles Schwab in the Oval Office. He said, "Oh, look, he made a couple $1 billion because one day the tariffs were imposed, the stock market tanked. The next day he took the tariffs off, stock market took off." Marjorie Taylor Greene of all people made money off of this market manipulation. It's all, in a sane world, the SEC would be investigating this and there'd be some people going to prison and Trump would be impeached. But we're not living in a sane world. We're living in a crazy world. Trump always caves on tariffs, Taco, whatever it is. The nickname is Taco, and it's really funny because it really upset him. And that's it, folks. I'm comedian Maz Jobrani. I've got a YouTube channel right here. It's at Maz Jobrani. Go ahead, give it a follow. Let me know you came from Rebel HQ. And don't buy all of this tariff BS. It's all BS. You're being taken for a ride, and the Republican Congress is going to pass this big, beautiful bill and going to take away a lot of benefits that you probably would need or others would need, and the rich are going to get richer. That's right, folks. Trump always caves. Oh, what's the O? Ah! All right.